Now, Robby, I know this is big talk.
We have some disagreements here. Yeah,
hit me. What's on your mind?
Look, this might just be a result of, frankly, our different ideologies. I can see why you might say that the Supreme Court has mostly been negative or serving as a check on laws or policies you would like to pass. From my perspective, it has, while there are plenty of Supreme Court and other court decisions I don't agree with, or that have gone the wrong way, or that have not protected rights I think ought to be protected, I can also think of a lot of cases of the Supreme Court and certainly other courts striking down laws that were enacted by idiotic legislatures that violate our rights, that may have been supported by huge majorities.
I can think of about three.
There's a lot on speech, all the speech-related cases for the last 20 years, the extreme expansion of our First Amendment rights.
What's
from
an
the
example
Westboro
of a
Church,
federal law limiting speech that the Supreme Court has struck down? Because I can think
flag burning. Or that was a state law.
This is Nico's point, because we went back and forth in this episode, and the third person who didn't speak, a law professor from Georgia, Eric Stiegel, he was kind of open to the argument, but wanted to press back against Nico and say it cannot be that there are not these examples. He tried to come up with a counterexample. I encourage people to go watch that full clip on YouTube. Come up with a counterexample that said, well, what if the government passed this terrible law that was so obviously bad and hurt all of these Americans? And he couldn't do so because at the end of the day, when things are so obviously bad, they don't reach this level. Legislatures don't push stuff like that through. They can't make it through on a federal level. There's already that kind of built-in.
What about all the expansion of our due process rights, search and seizure rights, all that stuff?
Name a case. I'm open to it.
What the names of the case are, but the ones during the Warren era, the Miranda.
This was the one instance where there were a lot of federal laws that were frankly great, and they were not allowed by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was striking them all down against
sodomy. What about gun rights? That's
the thing. At the end of the day,
well, I know those are state laws, but I would like those state laws struck down by the Supreme Court.
You're not getting rid of the federal district courts. The rest of the court system remains in place. But the problem with the Supreme Court is it's able to strike down federal law. And when Nico's solid point is, when there is a conflict between what federal legislatures, democratically elected legislatures, think is constitutional and what the Supreme Court, these unelected jurists, think is constitutional, the tipping point should go to the federal legislature, because at very least there was a democratic accountability system built in there that doesn't exist with the
only
Supreme
reason
Court.
Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of private sector workers all around the country are not required to get vaccinated is because the Supreme Court said no to it. It wasn't a federal law, because the federal government doesn't even make laws anymore. They don't even think they have to. They just use their massive bureaucracy agencies to do whatever they want, and the Supreme Court occasionally holds them in check. And I think that's an important thing.
And I think that we should live in a world where it's a lot more common and normal to change laws, to amend the Supreme Court, to have people have an active and democratic interest in changing the rules and laws in our government, not expecting to rely on a bunch of unelected people acting on fiat to change the laws that happen to work out for us in some cases, but in all of the instances that Nico set out. If you were Dred Scott trying to ride a train and being told that no, you can't because you're a black man, or any of the other overwhelming instances that have occurred throughout history where the Supreme Court has upheld the right to intern Japanese citizens, and on and on and on down the line, I humbly suggest that a mask mandate isn't worth all of that.
If we had a SCOTUS that better reflected my views, they should strike down the Patriot Act. They should strike down things of that nature.
But the argument is that it shouldn't be SCOTUS. It should be democracy. And that the problem is...
It should be SCOTUS because the Patriot Act violates our very basic...
Look, most countries don't have a Supreme Court. Countries that we think are very democratic, like the United Kingdom, don't have a Supreme Court. And this is another argument that Nico makes. We, I think, have America brand. We have a very hard time thinking about how the world could work outside of the institutions that we're very familiar with. And I think at very least, even if people aren't really to hop on board and push all of the justices out of the building, to say, at very least, let's have the thought experiment about how to better design our system. The founding fathers were just human beings that designed a system. They weren't sent tablets down from Moses on the mountain.
I'm not arguing about that, but I want a Supreme Court that vehemently strikes down laws that violate the rights that are protected under our Bill of Rights.
And I want our rights to be more responsive to the democratically elected legislature, and for the people to feel like they have an opportunity to actually make the changing winds of popular consensus felt in our government and not be relying on standards from 200 years ago.
That is the difference.